introduce yourself, Crystal?
Yes, my name is Crystal Davy, and I'm a member of New City Fellowship.
How long have you been going here?
15 years.
Oh man, so you've been here very close to the beginning.
Oh, it's been a while.
So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what Black History Month means to you. So I just want to start from the beginning. So what year were you born?
And I was born in 1958.
All right. And what experience would you say that you went through when you were younger that sort of represents that time period?
Well, I grew up in a place where there was a little everybody: Italian, German, Jewish, Black, Puerto Rican. And that just gave me a worldview of living with everybody.
So, would you say that you were impacted by the world events that were going on, like civil rights and?
Well, the first thing I knew about any of that is when John F. Kennedy got killed. That's when I knew something was going on. And then when Martin Luther King got killed, that was real tragedy.
How old were you when JFK and MLK were killed?
I believe I was 8 when JFK got killed and Martin Luther King. I was in the 5th grade, so I'm not too sure. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I know I was young.
What did you think was going on?
I didn't know what was going on because people were riding in the street and I didn't understand. And me and my little girlfriend were walking home and they pulled her aside and started to beat her on her. And all I could do was stand there and cry because I didn't understand what they were doing. And my father came and snatched both of us up to bring us to safety to get us out of the fire. So I still didn't understand until a neighbor explained to me that Martin Luther King had died, and some people just were so hurt by it, they reacted badly.
And what were your thoughts about Martin Luther King as you were growing up? What was your awareness of him?
All I knew is I have a dream man. And he favored my daddy. So I knew he was peaceful, and all of us had a picture of him in the house. But that's pretty much it.
And how did your family talk about Dr. King and civil rights?
Well, my father went to the March on Washington with my next door neighbor. And they tried to keep us predominantly out of political things. They tried to keep us out of a lot of things, but they wanted us to understand what he was doing and why he did it. They did explain that. But they didn't want us to have a distorted view of people because they don't agree with you. And the way they treated him so badly, it made a lot of people very upset, including my daddy and my next door neighbor. So I was still young, so there was still quite a few things that I didn't quite grasp. But I knew something was wrong. Just didn't understand the full ramifications of it.
As you grew up, how did you interpret the events that went on after he died, like the rioting?
I told you, I was in shock. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. All the little white kids coming from school, and the majority of my school was white. They were beating up on them for what? I didn't understand why they were beating up on these kids because they didn't do anything. So I have my own feelings about that. I didn't want to see anybody get hurt, and I meant nobody. These were my friends. I couldn't understand it. As I got older, I learned a few things. But I don't think that children should pay for what adults do.
Hmm. And would you say that separate from what was going on in the nation, that within your school, the kids, even though it was majority white, still got along with you and the other African American kids?
Well, I would say they did. You know, we ran in and out of each other's house, ate from each other's table, didn't even realize that my next door neighbor was Italian. To me, she was just Aunt Alice. I never realized that there was a color barrier until I got older. I think I was in the sixth grade when I found out there's something different here. But prior to that, mm-mm. Everybody got along. We all played together. And I think that most of the people in that area, you know, all the parents looked out for each other's kids. They used to look out the window to make sure you were staying out of trouble. I can't say that they didn't carry me home more than one time for getting in trouble. And one parent would spank you just like you. And carry you home when you got spanked again. But people got along. The church that I went to, I grew up Presbyterian. And that, we call it multicultural now, but that was normal for me. And everybody in there seemed to love each other. So I didn't have the same view as some people.
And you said that your church, like they call it multicultural now. Was the church that you raised in, was it diverse?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My first pastor I can remember was Pastor Brown. Big, heavy-set German man. Beautiful. I mean, he squeezed us up. We squeezed him up. I loved seeing him on Sunday. And I don't remember anybody ever discussing race or anything like that. No. We discussed potluck suppers and fashion shows and things of that nature.
How would you say that the way that we go about race now has changed from when you guys went about it when you were younger?
Wow. Everything is out there in the open now. Where, depending on where you lived, it wasn't always out in the open. You know, like South, if they didn't like you, they let you know they didn't like you. Up north, if they didn't like you, they still smiled at you. So you really didn't know. But in time, if you're in an area where there are racist people, it's going to come out. I learned about race through my 5th grade teacher. And I didn't understand her. A little girl threatened to beat me up every day. This girl put gum in my hair. She had me terrified. And I had enough of her. And I told her at 3 o'clock, I'm going to get you. So she told the teacher that I was going to beat up on her. And the teacher didn't ask me no questions. Now, this same teacher, every day she watched this girl torture me. But she did nothing about it. And she asked me, did you tell her that? And I told her, yes. But when people hollered at me as a child, I would put my head down. So she decided to slap me. And I can't say what I did in response to that. But I did ask one of my neighbors, why did she do that to me? Why did she let this little girl beat up on me every day? And she did nothing but slap me in the face when I wanted to retaliate. And my neighbor had to explain to me, some people are just ignorant. But my father, I guess he figured it's time to tell her something. When I found out she slapped me because I was black, and defended the little girl because she was white, I was devastated. That's the first time I realized that there could be a difference just because of the color of my skin. But she didn't win. She won for a little while, but she didn't win. Because I went right back to not seeing the colors, even though that's what she set out for me to do.
How did you do that?
Well, my great-grandfather's German. You don't hate what's part of you. You can, but that don't sound too good. I grew up loving people. My parents were always loving the people. And people were always good to us. I don't care who you were. They were always good to us. So I couldn't let this lady win because I would have missed out on a whole lot of love just for what she did.
How long did it take you to recover from that after you found out the motivation behind her treating you that way?
It might have took me about 2 years. About 2 years to get over that. I'm one of those people, you do it to me today, I'm usually over it tomorrow. But this particular lady, if she hadn't been a teacher, maybe I would have got over it a lot quicker. But this was my teacher. And it just didn't make sense to me. It made no sense to me.
And how did your parents help you deal with being so hurt? Did they encourage you just to let it go, or did they allow you to vent it out?
Well, my mother was always soft-spoken, very, very rarely spoke. But my dad told me, baby, you need to know that this is part of life. And when I heard him say that, I think that's what made it stick with me so long. Because it got to the point where I really didn't trust some of my neighbors anymore. People who always treated me well since I was a baby. I started looking at them strange. Do they dislike me because of the color of my skin? A lot of my neighbors helped me get over that too. Because they told me the same thing my other neighbor told me. I was just ignorant. You can't let that knock you down, because I've always been, I guess, real perky. And to see me back off, it got next to my neighbors. They knew that something was wrong. And when they found out what it was, I mean, these people took time with me. So as far as I can see, and keep in mind, this is all different types of people. They love me into the point where what she did just went out the window. Because I realized it wasn't everybody, it was just her.
And was it a while before you experienced that sort of treatment after that?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, I think, excuse me, I think the next time that something like that happened to me, I was going to voice lessons at a place called the Bronx House in Pelham Parkway. And that whole area was Irish. And they would look at you like you were going to steal a sidewalk when you went down the street. And some of their women used to wear all black, tied up, head, and you walk and they spit that on the ground at you. And then sometimes you have people driving by the car calling you names that I will not repeat. But then I just knew that was that area. My father said, you go straight to your voice lesson, come back. Certain areas he wouldn't let us go in. So he shielded us from a lot. So it might have been out there, but my dad and my mom pretty much shielded from it and let us know you have to judge a person individually. Because this person is racist doesn't make everybody racist. In one household. Daddy could be racist, don't mean mom is.
How long did it take you to come to that understanding? Or was it easy for you to accept that?
I think it was easy for me to accept because, like I said, most people have always been real good to me and my family. You know, we can walk in and get a job where they told us we couldn't get one. We got one. People who wouldn't speak. It's like I moved to North Carolina and I was working in a factory. The white sat on one side, the black sat on the other side. I'm from New York City. I came and sat down at the table with the white folks because one of my girlfriends was over there. I didn't know there was supposed to be a difference here. Well, it wasn't a white person that told it to me, it was a black person. Why are you over there with them white people?
Oh, no.
It made, I couldn't believe they asked me that. Huh? She's nice. Why wouldn't I sit over there? And the girl told me, sit back and look. Don't you notice that the white sit there and the black sit here? I said, but what does that have to do with me? And the ironic thing is, the main one who told it to me, when it was all said and done, guess who was sitting at that table with the white folks? She was. I found that hilarious. So why didn't you do that before? I don't understand. Just like I sat there, and you're sitting here now, why didn't you sit there before? I think a lot of separation goes because we make separations.
Now, do you think that was then and now?
Oh yeah. I believe a lot of the separation we're going through now is something that we do, and I'm not going to say everybody does it out of ignorance because some people know what they're doing.
Mm.
It's in their agenda to keep people separated. But being that we're Christians, we know that separation don't fly. When God made man, he said this was good. And there are times we have to remember that. Because, yeah, there are times like when George Floyd and several other people got killed, I can't tell you I wasn't hot. And I can't tell you I wasn't upset about it. Because I don't think anybody should die because of the color of their skin. But the Lord had to work with me on that too. To let me know his life is gone, but so is theirs. And even if they didn't go to jail, you killed somebody. You're going to have to deal with the Lord eventually. And that kind of calmed me back down. Because you and I haven't made anybody. We don't have a heaven or a hell to put them in. But God does. So I have to put all things that is too big for me, I put it in his hands. And he keeps a smile on my face.
I don't know how you do that. I think that's very big of you. My response was definitely just to become withdrawn altogether, not really wanting to talk about it, not really wanting to dialogue about it, not really wanting to share my feelings, because it just felt extremely overwhelming. It just felt like there definitely reached points where it just felt like it was one after the other, and at that point it just felt like what other emotion am I able to have at this point besides anger and frustration? And I'm not ready to share that because I don't really know how to deal with it myself.
Well, that's why I put it in the Lord's hands. But some things are bigger than me. And he's carried me through everything. So I have to rely on him or else I'd lose my mind. I would. As a matter of fact, I'd probably be acting just as ignorant as the rest of the folks out there that are acting over what I understand. I understand they're in pain. It's like I always said, we have Black History Month all the time, where we discuss the different things, the slavery and things of that nature. And each time we have people that speak on it and they put a Band-Aid over it. When you have a wound and it's festering, a Band-Aid ain't gonna help. You got to dig out all that festering yuck. You got to get rid of it. Go to the core. And then it can start healing. But the problem is most people don't want to go that deep. Now, once you've lived a little bit of life here, you start to realize that the people that are doing this think they're in control. They think they're in charge. And they make others believe they're in charge. But we know that's not so. There's only one in charge. There's only one that's got their heaven and hell. And until most people see that, what you feel inside, the hurt and the pain, it's not going to heal. It's just going to get worse and worse. And what do you do with all that anger once it's all there? What do you do with it? Do you go out and hurt somebody because you're hurt? Do you mistreat everybody that comes in your path because they remind you of the person who hurt you in the first place? Somewhere along the line, there's got to be a meeting of the mind. You need your peace in order to survive. You want to make it, you need your peace. And in order to have your peace, you got to let go what's too big for you. And us being Christians, we have somebody to give it to. He's the judge. He's the jury. I haven't made anybody. But I can still talk to him about it. And that's a judge that will take care of business. We look for justice in the earthly judge, but they're earthly. You're getting man's justice, and you already know we were born in sin. So you ain't going to get it. But when you go to the ultimate judge, that's where your justice lies. And you can keep your peace because you know he's got it. You're going to be fine because he said it wasn't going to come by your dwelling. You're going to be all right. And I believe until people figure that out, it's not going to get any easier. If somebody tells you it's going to get easier, they're telling you a story. It's not. Revelations tell you, up to a certain point, we're going to go through it until the Lord comes. He's the one that's going to make it easier for us, to keep us out of pain. But he gave us the command of love. You know how hard that is? Somebody just ran over your big toe. You ready to fuss at him. But he gave you the commandments to love. Where does that leave you? So, I understand that at this stage, that there are still a lot of people who look at me and see a black woman and they have a problem with it. But you can't stay around me for so long and keep that. Because I'm going to love you while you hating me. Now, I can't say where that'll lead me because you saw what happened with Martin Luther King. He loved people until they took him out of here. But see, they can kill a body, but they can't kill a soul. So it's up to you on how you let racism affect you. If somebody spits in your face, it's up to you to love them or to want to fight with them. The response is yours. And because we're human, sometimes the response goes in the latter. But I find that keep your hand in God's hand. And the rest of it, I'm telling you, you'll make it through.
What's the balance between personal accountability and collective action? And so understanding that you can only control yourself and your response, but at what point is it our responsibility to say collectively we cannot allow XYZ to continue to happen to more people than just me?
Well, I'm going to put it to you this way. When people tell you you're a Christian and you're supposed to be as gentle as a lamb, remember that our Father, who's in heaven, had David and several others go to war. They had to go to war. Samuel, he told them to kill them all. Did he not? If you're following the footsteps of the Father, if the Father wants you to go to war, you're going to war. The decision, man has the idea that they have control of the decisions, but you don't. Because say you want to have a round table and you put 50 people in the room and you got 25 on one side, 25 on the other side, and they're having this debate. With all the talking that they've done, how much do you think got accomplished through that?
Not much.
Not much.
If anything.
Who can change a heart?
Only God.
Okay, we go back to what it is that I said. Now, the only one that can change a heart is God. But don't think that the Father sits there and say, okay, that's my child, you can use it for a doormat. It doesn't work like that. The battle has never been ours. And you know who the Father lies is. You know who's behind this. He don't want us getting along. We might get a little bit too happy. But keep in mind that if you take our Father's character, then you know there will be times where you will have to go to war. There'll be times where you will have to stand up when you don't want to. It's easy to go in a corner and say, I'm not going to get involved. Martin Luther King could have did that. He could have went in the corner and did not get involved. But he followed the Lord and did what the Lord told him to do. And in the long run, his body was killed. But his soul wasn't. So when you're out there, you got to realize, am I making this situation better or am I making it worse? Can I live with me if I respond this way? See, he knows what you can live with. It's like a man that kills another man. You killed that man. Can you live with it? If you remember back in the 50s and the 60s, when they tried to integrate schools and things of that nature, even in the 70s, they were still trying to integrate schools. The children that had to go to these schools were called all kinds of things, rocks thrown at them. You know, some of them got beat up real bad. Do you not see right now on the social medias and things all these people who had to go back and apologize to these people for what they did? Because what they did is what they heard at home. Not that they realize there's a difference between you and me. It's what they heard at home. Now, we all have reasons to be bitter. We do. And I understand. It's like when I hear people complain about different things on, okay, I came here and I'm being mistreated. You came here. We didn't come here. You came and got us. We were the only group of people that was considered money, cattle. I mean, they abused everybody. Everybody that came here got abused. But they came here. It was something you did for a better life. We didn't want to come. So I understand folks being bitter. They put a whole lot of laws on the books for us. Those laws are on the books for what happened to us, but yet they would not allow us to use those laws. They let everybody else use them but us. So like I told you, there are reasons to be bitter. But you got to keep in mind, this is temporary. All this is temporary. You're just a pilgrim trying to make it home. So no matter what is said or done, if somebody wants to be vicious, let them be vicious. I don't see anybody standing between me and the Lord. Because I know he's not having it. And he can get you a whole lot better than I can. But if you really, really look at some of these people, you can't help but feel bad for them. Who brought you up? What kind of childhood did you have? Who told you that other human beings were something that you can throw away? What makes you think because a person's hair is different, or their skin is different, or their speech is different, that you have the right to do anything with them? It confuses me to this day. What right do you have? You made no one. I think we need to start looking at ourselves a little more deeply and realize that if we don't catch it, the very same people we don't like, the very same people we fight against, will end up just like them.
I guess my question then would be how do we move forward, both individually and collectively?
Start seeing people as people. Each person, God made. There was a purpose, rather they went one way. Judas was made by God. And Judas had a purpose. And we know what Judas did. He betrayed Jesus. But he had a purpose. We've got to start seeing people as people. Even the ones who have no religion. They know, and they don't know, they should know, that every last one of us have to leave here. This place is temporary. This body is temporary. So, while they say there's nothing left afterwards, what about the life you're living right now? Why should you go through the stress when you can live peacefully? Why do it? If you hate me, you ain't living peacefully. You got a lot going on in that heart. But if you take the time to love me like I love you, I can sleep at night. Can these people sleep at night? I think we got to start looking at each other for who we are, the person that we are. You got some that are strong, some that are weak. You see the weak ones, protect them. Strong ones, use them. Start to see people for who they are. Some people are sweet and perky. Some people are just sour. Because you sour don't mean I don't love you. Sometimes you look at folks doing it, you just gotta laugh. I know it upsets someone. I don't mean to upset nobody. But they look like little kids throwing a temper tantrum. Really, they do. And when you look at them like that, you can look at them and smile too. They don't know what you're laughing at, but we've got to start seeing each other for what God intended us to do, to be one people. But we already know that this is going to keep on going until Jesus comes. We already know this. If it's not this war, it's going to be another war, a rumor of a war. Our word tells us that. But that don't stop us from doing what he commanded us to do, because he gave us the power to do it, and that's love people. Look at people like they're little children. How mad do you get with a little? You get mad with a baby. You mad with that baby for that day or that moment or whatever, but you get over it, and you go right back to hugging up your little sweetheart or your neighbor's little sweetheart, and you have to start seeing people like that. When they're throwing the temper tantrums and they're going to war, see them for what they are. Okay, the brat is acting up now. Well, you finish with the temper tantrum and I'll talk with you later. Know that no human being belongs to another human being. All of us belong to the Lord. So if you think about hurting somebody, just remember that it's not just that person you hurt. You hurt the father, you hurting a lot. That's mamas, daddies, brothers, sisters, children. And for what? I don't understand. For what? We all want to live a good life. All of us. And if you're here, there's no reason why you can't live a good life other than somebody trying to put their foot on your neck. Leave the jealousy. Leave the envy. And try to help people. You can't change what's already in motion. But you can try to help people. You can have empathy for them. You can actually love them. Try to help them. Maybe you can't go out and give dinner to 1 million people. But how about that one? That one person. And that person that's always cussing you out and talking badly about you. Ever try saying I love you to them? After a while, you'd be amazed. Because that one day that you don't say it, they're going to be looking for you. You ain't telling me you love me today. So we can, as human beings, we can do something. As Christians, we can pray. And when things get too heavy for us, we got someplace to put it. Nothing should remove what the Lord gave to you, which was your smile. And I can say this, losing a grandson within last year. Somebody murdered him. Do you think I let the devil have my joy on that? No. Why? Because I know that there's a God in heaven and he'll take care of it. That was over my head. So I put it in the Lord's hands. I'm going to get justice. Just keep in mind that you can have justice. But don't look for it in the courthouse. Don't look for it from man. And you won't be hurt. Stop putting your faith where it don't belong.
Yes, ma'am. In light of that, what does Black History Month mean to you?
What does it mean to me? It means that we've come a mighty long way. And I do mean a mighty long way. We went from being money, farm animal, bricklayer, slave, to where we can have this conversation today without somebody trying to go upside our head or somebody trying to do us some harm. We've come to the point where we have a voice, and we also come to the point where we can realize what it's like to have an education. Those people behind us knew nothing of education. What did they know? They weren't allowed to read. And through it all, that's another reason why you should be smiling. Because they made it. That's why you here. Because a lot of people didn't make it. You come from strong stock. So I feel like when it's all said and done, you still end up with having to love your enemy. Nobody's going to tell you that everything's going to be fine tomorrow, because we know that's not so. But we know you can make a difference. At least you have the choice to do that. And you didn't have too many choices back then. So I celebrate all the people that were before me that made it through being treated as animals. They're no longer being treated, well, some still are, but most aren't. Most are being treated as men and women. They have the right to an opinion. They have a right to raise their voice. They have a right to protest. That wasn't so always. You can live pretty much any neighborhood you want to now. You can get a 7-figure job now. So things have changed. Maybe it needs more, but for the change that we have, we've got to be grateful for that and keep on moving. And remember that our kids are looking at us, our grandkids, and in my case, my great-grand. What you do affects their tomorrow. So we have got to, it's like the Holocaust. You have to keep reminding people so they don't go back. Bless you, baby. You don't want them to go back. Because history has a tendency to repeat itself if you don't keep reminding people. So it took a long time for us to get this Black History Month. But now that we have it, it's a time of celebration of all of those before us. That's what it means to me primarily. I'm going to celebrate all those before me. I'm going to celebrate all the ones that are here. And I'm going to celebrate that through it all, we still come out with hearts that are the same. And people have stopped putting Band-Aids on wounds. They're starting to dig into the wound itself for the healing. That means a world of good. It might come out one time in a month. 12 months, 1 month, where you can discuss what it is you really do feel. But anything we do, we can do it in love. And as for this month, I am really celebrating all that made it through. All our kids that are here now, our grandkids, I am celebrating